Pettitt here, and today we're going to do Chapter 12, the Department of Energy, which I fully admit is the department I kind of thought I knew what it was doing. Nope. And I certainly didn't know what Heritage Foundation was going to say about it. But my friend Kathy is here. And Kathy, thank you for agreeing to have a weird conversation with me about the
Yeah.
Department of Energy, which is also a chapter is you are not an expert on.
Oh, no, not even close.
No, but you can read, and that's really what we
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
Before we get started, is there any hot take you need to get off your chest sooner than later, or you're going to combust?
Well, I'll just say, worst written thing ever. Very bad, very hard to read, which is, I think, is by design. It's sort of like when you write a bill, you intentionally mislead and obfuscate so voters are like, I don't understand how bad it is because I can't.
Themselves.
I think that's what it is. So I kind of had to fight through that and then wake myself up. And by the time I finished, I had no energy. But yeah, it's dense, badly written, but besides the fact that it needed a better editor, it's just a lot of garbage. And it's just we should have just called it Waging War on Science, is what we should have called it.
Who
But
needs it?
who needs it? Who
Science.
needs facts?
No, factoids are dumb. All right. Well, I agree across the board. Although I haven't done the recording yet. There is
Yeah.
one chapter that is going to take the cake for worst written chapter. It's not chapter 12. So let me build suspense.
Okay.
Not chapter 12. It is a chapter that not only did not use an editor, let alone a good editor, they did not run spell check.
Oh.
And I'm going to guess somebody just said like accept edits.
Yeah.
There's not like sentences.
Yeah. But
In
that's kind of like, like when you get a scam email, you count on them being bad spellers. That's how you can like you know to right away. You're like, that's a spammer. I feel like these are the spammers of like logic spammers, and I need them to be dumb because
yeah.
Okay.
What's fascinating is that a lot of them are very well educated, and a lot of the issues that we're finding in the chapter of Department of Energy, particularly, were there in 1979 in a response to Carter, which is when the first mandate for leadership came out.
Yeah.
Because Carter had the audacity to talk about EV cars and put solar panels at the White House.
That's right. That's
The
right.
nerve.
The nerve. He was also ahead of his time in protecting lands, federal
Yeah.
lands, and very visionary in that. And you're right. The folks that sort of wrote this, they're smart. I don't agree with any of it, but they're smart. Yeah, but but you can use your power for good or not good, but there you go.
And here we are today.
Here we are. Here we
So
are.
the idea here is that no one is an expert. We're just trying to demystify it without it
Yeah.
being super pinko commie liberal, rile up
Yeah.
the base,
Yeah.
and without being super conservative, rile up the base. Just what does it say?
What
Right?
does it say? Yeah.
Okay, so I also will interrupt
Yeah.
because I've read all the chapters, which means my brain is stroganoff. But
Yeah.
there are sometimes threads that show up in our conversation. This particular chapter, the Department of Energy got a shout out in the middle of the EPA chapter because they're going to close down the EPA. So
Yes.
the renewable fuel standards should
Yes.
get moved to energy, and anything else that you might be thinking of related to this area, it's all going to go to transportation department.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
woo, I
There's a
feel so
lot of
much better.
crazy intersections. You're absolutely right.
Right. All right. So what does the Department of Energy do? I narrowed it down to there's 3 different departments or agency sub things that make up the Department of Energy. One is cleverly called the Department of Energy. One is called the Federal Energy Reg. I wrote down Reg Com FERC as it's called to the insiders. And then the one that I will admit, this is one of the few elements that is actually keeping me awake at night, is related to the Nuclear Regulatory Committee, the NRC.
Mhm.
So I'm just going to jump there out of order first
Okay.
so that we can get out of the way. And maybe if I can like externally process it, I might sleep
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, across the board, right? Women are terrible, abortion is terrible, China is terrible, and private business is good unless it's run by a woman. I'm paraphrasing. Um, so private business, innovation, encouraging free market economy, grow the business, the opportunity, grow the business, yay, Milton Friedman, is like a
Yeah.
constant baseline. So
Yeah.
we're gonna, according to this, we're gonna privatize. This is why I haven't slept in a week.
Yeah.
Privatize the disposal of nuclear waste. Because who better than someone who only feels accountable to their shareholders to
Right.
be making such decisions as to where to dispose
Yeah.
nuclear waste? Uh-huh.
Right.
Yep. I'm never going to sleep again. Ever.
Right. Right. No.
I did not even know I had strong opinions about nuclear waste.
Yeah. We should.
This, since
We
reading
should.
this, but primarily this conversation is probably the most I've ever talked about nuclear
I,
waste.
I'm thinking I haven't said nuclear waste in a long time. That's not a pickup line I use.
Mm-mm.
Doesn't
Yeah,
work well for
so
me.
this is utterly terrifying. Okay, so
Yeah.
goals, as I understood them, outside of that terrifying thing that I am not feeling better, so we're going to move on,
Yeah.
is promoting American energy interests.
Yeah.
I know that I am a Pinkokami hippie, and I was raised in Texas. My dad worked in the oil, whatever.
Mm.
The number of times that we are specifically talking about increasing our dependence on fossil fuels
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
so counter to everything I have heard.
Yeah.
But when I could see like increasing our dependence on American fossil fuels, maybe like they're local,
Yeah.
but it is across the board increase the generalized
Yeah.
use of fossil fuels with American energy interest at the center.
Yeah. Yes.
Is
That
anybody going to tell them? You,
somebody needs to tell them.
you think that?
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. It's going back to fossil fuel use. And even though pretty much 99% of the world's scientists have agreed on, climate change isn't even debated as a fact in the scientific community, and everybody agrees that dependence on fossil fuels is very bad. And even the oil companies know at some point they're going to have to sort of cannibalize themselves. They are all investing, all of them, in green energy because they know that clean and green energy is the only thing down the road that's sustainable. So they're all, I mean, they know it, oil companies know it, but I guess with enough lobby money, you can buy your way back into getting fossil fuels back on the agenda. So that's basically what they're doing.
Right. The one of the quotes about this is rather than some neutral scientific gift to humanity,
Yeah.
we need to take American interest first.
Yes.
Neutral scientific gift to humanity. What a bunch of hogwash.
It's hogwash. It's
Hogwash.
it's
Yeah,
hogwash, and
I'm not gonna lie. This chapter is not one on my recommended list.
it is a very bad book. It is awful as like reading material before you go to bed. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's bad. Yeah, no, it's like you said, I don't think about nuclear waste. I don't think about these issues, but when I realize that they want to your point, exactly, they want to weaken the EPA, they want to weaken environmental justice standards. So, and now they want to speed and expedite the assignment of nuclear reactor licenses. So you get a nuclear reactor, and you get a nuclear reactor, and you get a nuclear reactor.
Right. And increase warheads and increase mining, land
Yep.
mining for fossil
Yep.
fuels. Right.
With very little oversight and a fast pass that the EPA has very little teeth, would basically defang the EPA. They're to even have any muscle to say, whoa, time out. We can't have another, train track with hazardous material in a community. You know what I mean? We can't do that, but that's what they
Not
want.
to mention that that same train track for the Department of Transportation is going to be deregulated from a national level and
Yeah.
will be regulated only by local municipalities, maybe
Yeah.
state
Because,
governments or counties,
right.
but definitely not federal. So that train piping through
Yeah.
its deregulated
Yeah.
nuclear reactor waste,
Right.
each municipality it goes through may have to follow different rules.
Yep. And they're all, of
That,
course, experts on nuclear waste management and hazardous
right.
material containment.
And if you're going to be pro business,
Yeah.
then that business has to maintain those regulations county to county to county to county, state to state to state to
Yeah.
state.
Yeah.
Does also make a very big stink that like you run a business, I run a business. So if I had to drive a train full of nuclear waste through multiple counties,
Yeah.
I would be most likely to find the most strict regulations and just go to that instead of having to change over and over and over again.
Yep.
That sounds expensive.
It sounds expensive. It sounds very unnecessary and very bad. So it just, yeah, it's bad. I mean, if we're rolling back the EPA and we're basically eliminating the Office of Clean Energy altogether. So
Yeah,
we're just gonna get rid of clean energy as if it doesn't exist.
right. And here's
And
another little sinkhole is that we're super anti-China, and
yeah,
China has got a lot of technological advances in clean energy.
yes, they do.
And the transportation chapter has the audacity to talk about auto-driven vehicles and electric vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're not doing clean energy or working on EV technology, which we are supposed to be doing to get ahead of China,
Mm-hmm.
we are going to be supporting China, which is evidently the worst.
Yeah.
Insert Elon Musk.
Yeah.
All right. We've established the terrifying. But
Yes.
okay, here is some little glimmers of hope. And I will fully admit, compared to some of the other chapters, we are talking like a Michael's rhinestone bejewelment that has fallen out of the package and got stuck to your grocery cart wheel and is now somewhere over by the dried flowers,
Tinsel
sparkling.
after Christmas under the couch. Did we find some tinsel?
Yes, that's the only highlight we got going on. Okay, so
Okay.
it does mention cyber energy security and that it is possible that if the internet or cybersecurity issues are going to be weaponized, we might want to think about them around our energy infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
does mention that. It is not even a complete thought, but it does.
It's a
It's
passing
in,
by. Yeah, it's a little passing mention. Yeah. Yeah.
I I think after reading all of them, it gets so exciting that something is mentioned, even if it's not a complete thought, because there's so much that's not even mentioned.
It isn't. But it makes sense because you think about like, you know, nuclear reactors online and dams and all these things that are vulnerable to like cyber attacks and things like
Mhm.
that could mean environmental disasters, right? So
Right.
it we should do better with cyber stuff.
Totally agree. So I was kind of thrilled to see it in there. I lived in New York during the blackout, where
Yeah.
rumor has it someone fell asleep and so the whole grid went down for a short period of
Ugh.
time. We kind of depend on these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, here's another
Okay.
little rhinestone glare to my heart.
Okay.
Energy reparations.
Oh.
I know, right? It
Okay.
mentions the word reparations.
Yeah.
Not upset about that. The idea is that generally, but then it kind of takes a turn and focuses on specifically the Arctic Circle and intelligence as the since climate change is not real, it just coincidentally that the ice shelf is melting. There is more land available, which has more fossil fuels. So the intelligence
Yeah.
as to where those mines and drilling should be in the Arctic Circle and is something that we should be sharing with only our friends.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
energy reparations are similar to how tariffs are supposed to have an equalization, not for the people buying the products, but the agreements. There's like quid pro quo treaties or agreements, and other countries are not upholding their financial end of our agreements. I'm going to guess it seems like we're not going to pay this bill, but we're going to tell you
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
buying the world world power because everybody owes us money. And the reparations is the harm that is done basically to the energy companies.
So the reparations are to the rich companies.
Because they've been hurt.
Because they've been so hurt, and not to the communities where we've had environmental disasters. It doesn't go to like marginalized communities or indigenous land communities.
People who need drinking
any
water.
Of that, or Flint, or any of the any of those places. Wow.
Yeah, none of that is needed. Wow. Energy efficiency was mentioned.
Yeah.
Largely as a bunch of hogwash.
Yeah.
Primarily related to not utilities. What are those things called? Like washing machine, dryer, refrigerator,
appliances.
Appliance. That's the word. Yeah, that's dumb. But it was mentioned and it was important, but it shouldn't be regulating appliances. It did talk about renewable energy and thinks it's a great idea, but it wants to completely deregulate. And if individual consumers want to invest, knock your socks off.
That's right. It would roll back, as I understand it, any tax incentives. It used to be you could deduct certain things if you invested in green appliances. You're right. It rolls that back. So if you want to spend your own money and do it, great, but you will not get any tax incentive from doing
Correct.
it. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we're going to eliminate government support for renewable energy sources. Yep. Continue, if not increase, destructive mining for fossil fuels in the Arctic Circle and wherever American interests are invested. Dismantle government initiatives that have anything to do with climate change, because that's a bunch of hogwash. Yep. And then the really interesting one, because it sounds to some that this might be anti-science. But they're going to rename and reorient the Department of Energy so that it is called the Department of Energy Security and Advanced Sciences, which are their sciences that align with the president's agenda.
Yeah, that's interesting. They're very liberal in the word science, but
they're very liberal in the word what nonpartisan means.
Nonpartisan, yeah. I was like, okay, it's blah, blah, yeah. No, yeah. You're right. They're gonna take us out of the Paris. It's gonna take us out of the Paris Agreement, which we
World Health Organization,
yes,
NATO,
all of
IMF,
all of it. And Biden put us back in, and then now he's gonna come again and like try to take us out and reverse it. So like it's this ping pong ball in the world, which is crazy. And the thing that's really hard too is that, well, we just saw the Biden, in an effort to rush things, which they'll probably overturn, he declared all these like safe spaces for non-drilling, but basically this thing says that they're going to open public land to drilling. So drill, baby, drill, the way he's always talked about it, that's what they're going to try to do. Yeah. So it reverses so much of what Carter and Biden and all these different like prior administrations have tried to do. And we're just single-handedly rolling everything back and clean energy jobs. I think if we just talk about clean energy jobs, that billions and billions have been set aside, that department goes away. There's no Department of Clean Energy anymore. There's no oversight to putting people to work to build a sustainable energy future. So kiss the energy goodbye, kiss the grids goodbye, kiss the jobs goodbye.
But don't forget, Kathy, that the few wealthy folks and their investing shareholders are going to make way more money in the very limited time we have left on the planet.
So they're gonna be breathing out of and have oxygen tanks that are like combustible. And they're going to be, because of all that, but they're going to have lots of money while they're dying.
Lots of money.
It'll be
as they are the last survivors on the planet.
Exactly.
I mean, it's about priorities, people.
It's the money, baby. It's the money. I think that's it. I think it's really rolling back all the strides that had been made. And I do think, I know we joke about it, but boy, that nuclear one, I think, is the third pillar of the energy playbook that I don't think it's enough play, and it should scare people because
privatizing nuclear waste disposal.
Yeah.
I just say those words.
Yeah.
And then imagine the best place you've ever worked. Notice, look how charitable I'm being. The best place you've ever worked And they're in charge of permanent nuclear waste disposal.
That scares me so bad. And on because we're getting rid of the EPA and any environmental justice, like, legislation, or, any type of oversight, there's going to be nobody to make sure that any of this crap is contained, or there's, what about cleanup? What about harmed communities? So reparations only happens if you're a rich oil company who's very sad and you've been hurt and you're very, very sad and you need your pockets filled up again. So
yeah, welcome. Okay, well, with this very uplifting, positive look towards the future, here is the hard part of this job. So what do? So if
yeah.
you are one of the two people probably watching this video, what I'm trying to focus on is not necessarily like immediate acts of resistance,
Yeah.
things to protest, things to
Yeah.
do. What I do think is important is where does your energy come from? Like, ask yourself some questions and
Yeah.
figure out where are you on the grid? What is fueling or energizing that grid?
Yeah.
How far north? How far south? How far does it go?
Yeah.
What fossil fuels are you dependent upon?
Mm.
What are you doing individually to support the correct disposal of nuclear waste? The question. I have found nothing. That's what I'm doing, is nothing
Yeah.
to support the correct disposal of nuclear waste. But what are you doing for clean air? What are you doing for, are you switching to electric vehicles?
Mm-hmm.
Um, if given, like if your stove peters out, are you interested in repairing that or getting an appliance that you choose to pay for because it is more energy efficient?
Mm-hmm.
I think if we
Mm-hmm.
can have those conversations about our own priorities, our own families, how it's going
Yeah.
to impact our pocketbook, then we'll know what we are doing to support energy use to the future,
Yeah.
regardless of politics, right? Is that we're very, very, very dependent on energy. So
Yes.
where are we in the process? Where is it coming from? What are we going to do with or without it? What would you say is something that you think about doing or have done since you read the chapter?
Well, I think we were already kind of doing it, but I think now I feel having looked at the chapter and, after it popped my eyes back in my head, um, I think to your point, it's like we've been very conscious about investing where we could in green energy, green appliances. We have an electric vehicle, and there's many choices beyond Tesla. I'm just saying, folks. But I think it is going through and learning. I don't know much about nuclear waste at all. I don't think about it. I should be. So it makes me go think part of what I need to do better is, the big things like, um, am I contributing inadvertently? Is my family doing, is there something I could do better? Am I doing something the wrong way? Am I disposing of stuff I shouldn't be? What can I do in my area to think differently about it? I know not everybody has time and I get it, but I think that when these kinds of things are even brought up at your local level, if you have the time, and I've gone to board meetings, and board is not a misnomer, they're boring, but they're important. So when you do have the time to like understand that at the local level, and I get
Mhm.
it, sometimes we're all working hard and we don't have time, but I think it's really important to understand that impact on your community.
Local community. If things are going to be regulated
Ah,
on a local or
yep,
municipality and you don't know where
yep,
your water plants are, your
yep,
treatment plants, your energy,
yep.
like where is this coming from? I think
Yeah.
and I'm included in this, right? Is that I think I know where it is in town, but I think your advice is brilliant. And that if we're going to regulate on the municipal level, then
Yeah,
what we need to do is pay attention on the municipal level.
absolutely. I can tell you where I live in San Jose, there's an area of San Jose called Alviso, and it's landfill. And its water saturation is different, it smells different. There are cases in Marin County in the Bay Area that have these unbelievably high cancer rates.
Mm-hmm.
And cancer rates are off the chart, like breast cancer, ovarian cancer, a lot of cancers that overwhelmingly affect women, but men too. And it's just this absolute insane cancer rate. And that, they've been saying for a while now, they think it is related to something environmental, water, air. It could be some kind of, toxic waste and how it's being maybe seeping into the ground if we don't look at that kind of thing. So I'd say look at these kinds of things, start to ask questions, because there are hot zones around the United States, and Marin County is one of them that has these outrageous, so above the average, the national average for like cancer. So we have to start asking questions at our local level. Yeah.
What's connecting? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Kathy, thank you again for volunteering to read a riveting chapter that will keep me awake for the rest of my life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And yeah, any parting words for whoever's left listening, which is probably someone who should be folding laundry?
I would say, I want to say, don't despair. I read this and my eyes were popping out of my head, and I was like, and I think it's this. This is ambitious. I believe they will probably try to do some of the stuff, because believe them, they told you they would, believe them. I think there is more power than we have if we organize at the community level. I do believe in pacing yourself, take care of yourself, because I think outrage is gonna only gets us so far. It's not sustainable. It's not good energy. So I think we're gonna have to pace our disgust because we're running a marathon, and I think it's gonna be, what can you do? Get organized at the community level. I believe it's going to be community that connects us. And also, like, read this chapter and then go watch a good rom-com. I don't know. Go watch something that makes you laugh, because I think it will make you outraged, but we need, I don't want to tell people how to channel their frustration, but I do think that maybe because we need it for the 4 years is a very long time. So we can't burn out now.
Take care of yourself. Laughter, you and I both always say this, laughter is one of the best equalizers and pathways to health. Well, thank you again, Kathy. I really appreciate it.
Of course, my pleasure.